In life, we all encounter personal fears, whether small or overwhelming. But remember one truth: running from fear never removes it. Instead, it grows stronger in silence. Today's story will show us that courageous action begins with facing what scares us. To overcome fear and move forward, we must confront life's challenges with a calm and determined mindset that shapes our inner strength and defines us. Deep within a peaceful valley surrounded by tall trees and misty mountains, there stood an old wooden hut. Inside lived a young, gentle deer who was known for his gentle nature. He was kind to every creature and never refused help when someone needed it. Yet, behind his calm smile, he carried a hidden fear that troubled him deeply. Every morning, the deer walked through the meadow to collect berries and drink from the stream, but one place he always avoided was the narrow bridge that crossed a dark ravine. Long ago, he had slipped there once, and the painful memory never left him. Since then, he took a longer path every day, even though it exhausted him. One afternoon, while searching for food, the deer found a patch of ripe berries near the ravine. Hungry and tired, he felt relieved. He filled his basket and decided to return before sunset. As he walked, he realized the longer path would delay him and night would fall soon. This presented a time constraint. With a heavy heart, he stood before the narrow bridge, staring into the deep shadows below. His legs trembled, his breathing grew shallow. The wind whispered through the trees, making the bridge creak softly. Overwhelming fear tightened his chest, and he stepped back. "I can't do this," he thought. "What if I fall again?" Turning away, he chose the familiar, longer route, avoiding the bridge. But fate had other plans. Dark clouds gathered, and rain began to fall. The path became slippery, and thunder echoed across the valley. The deer panicked. Lost and soaked, he realized avoidance of fear had led him into greater danger. Shivering and afraid, the deer searched for shelter but found none. The growing storm grew stronger, and every sound felt threatening. Suddenly, he heard a deep voice from the darkness. "Why do you keep running?" it asked, urging him to confront fear. Startled, the deer looked around, his heart pounding wildly. From behind a tree stepped an old tortoise, slow and calm despite the storm. The deer recognized him as a wise tortoise, a traveler who had crossed the valley many times. Gathering courage, the deer shared his fear of the bridge and his painful memory. The tortoise listened patiently, then said, "Fear with avoidance grows when you feed it by avoiding it." Before the deer could reply, a strong roar echoed nearby. A bear appeared, soaked and angry. "This storm is dangerous," the bear growled. "The ravine is flooding." Hearing this, the deer felt his fear intensified. The tortoise turned to him and said, "If you don't face the bridge now, the valley will trap you." The bear laughed loudly. "That bridge is weak," he said. Even I wouldn't cross it." With that, he ran off into the forest, giving false comfort. The deer felt hopeless. If such a strong animal refused, how could he succeed? Just then, a small, brave squirrel ran across the bridge with ease, carrying a nut. The deer watched in shock. The squirrel paused and said, "It's scary only when you stand still." Those words echoed in the deer's mind. For the first time, he stepped forward, placing one hoof onto the bridge. Heart racing but determined, the bridge swayed gently beneath the deer's weight. His legs shook violently. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and focused on each step instead of the depth below. The bridge creaked but held firm. With one final effort, the deer reached the other side and collapsed onto the ground, triumphant over fear, breathing heavily. Moments later, the storm began to fade. The clouds parted and moonlight illuminated the valley. The deer stood up, realizing personal transformation had changed within him. The bridge had not grown stronger, he had, finding his inner strength. The tortoise arrived soon after and smiled. "Fear versus reality often sounds louder than reality," he said gently. The squirrel joined them, and together they watched the calm river flow beneath the bridge. As dawn approached, other animals gathered, curious to see who had crossed during the storm. When they heard the deer's story, they were amazed. The deer looked at the bridge once more, no longer with fear, but with gratitude. From that day on, he crossed it daily, not because it was easy, but because it reminded him of his strength. He learned that fear does not disappear when avoided. It fades only when faced with courage, step by step. Friends, this story teaches us 3 valuable lessons. First, when we avoid our fears instead of facing them early, they slowly grow stronger and more intimidating. Second, true courage is not about size or power, but about taking the first brave step, just like the deer did. Third, running from fear only traps us deeper, while facing challenges sets us free. So never underestimate small fears, and when bigger ones appear, confront them calmly and confidently, because escape is not a solution.